Everybody, welcome to the CansInSight pregame podcast live at the Lickin', powered by NHR and Levine Accident Attorneys. It is USF game day, ranked matchup, number 5 Miami, number 18 USF. We are here at the Lickin', Miami Gardens, about 5 minutes from the stadium, getting ready to pregame. We're going to be here for a long time. Basically, the whole pregame, we're here doing shows, eating some unbelievable food, meeting some Canes fans. So if you're trying to get out to the game, go to the Lickin', Miami Gardens. You're right there, right next to the stadium. You beat the traffic. You can eat. You can load up. Don't have to eat at the stadium and waste your money on overpriced food. You can watch all the games on all these TVs and enjoy yourself. Opening here in 50 minutes. Doors will open, but we are live. So, Pete, how we feeling right now?
Feeling phenomenal, man. This is last week. It's hard to say that I wasn't excited. You're always excited on a game day. You always talk about how Wednesday is your favorite day of the week. Saturday for me is the best day of the week, without a doubt, because you have the games and everything going on. But I didn't have the same juice last week. I just didn't. There was going into it, you just understood it wasn't going to be a real battle there. We were excited to see some young guys, but this is an awesome test. We were talking about before the show. It seems like nationally, most people are picking Miami here. I haven't really seen someone go out on a limb. Not even our own Trenton Breeze picked against us this week. So you're a team now who's expected to win, not just by the pundits, but 17.5, 18.5 point favorites in this game, which is 3 scores. It shows you what they say you should win by. Obviously, that was the case, supposed to be the case last week against Florida, but I feel good about Miami's chances in this one. Not just their chances, but I feel like they will have a controlling win here. But it's such a good test before Florida next week.
Oh, wait, Ari from On 3 apparently picked the USF, so at least that's good. We got to find that article and make it seem like everybody's picking against USF. Get some locker room motivation. You're late in the game, but no, man, listen. That's the thing that gets me nervous is that everybody's picking Miami to cover, not just to win. Now, listen, I will say objectively, if I was in the same seat as the prognosticators and I was not a Miami fan, there's another team, I'd pick Miami too, just because the way the kind of flow of the season is. US had 2 big wins. You expect them to have a let off at some point. They're probably got to be tired. They're on the road. Miami's at home. Miami's fresh. Miami's that big physical kind of team, which typically has a lot more success with these smaller teams because there's just such a margin of error where they can hand the ball off and run or protect the quarterback like they do, get after it. So a lot of these factors to me suggest that Miami could potentially cover that 3-score spread. But top 18 matchup for a reason. This is a team that has performed, that has executed, that has done the things they need to do to win. They're confident. They're probably as confident as they've ever been at any point since they were number 2 in the country, many, many, many eras ago in USF football. So Miami's going to have to start strong. This is not a game where you could turn it over early and get USF into it. I think turnovers in general, cliche of all time, right? But turnovers are going to be the key to this game. Similar to Notre Dame, you won the turnover battle, you won that game. If you win the turnover battle here, and if you protect the ball, I think not only will you win, but you'll win comfortably. If you turn it over, you could lose this game, as you have found out, which wasn't even a turnover-heavy game as much as Boise was, but it was very much a sloppy, poor-executed
slugfest. Game. It was a slugfest for sure. The discipline from Miami's side has been awesome. The first 2 weeks, that was something that talk about it being a sloppy game. That penalty that got USF kind of back into the mix there from Florida. So those sort of things got to stay clean there. And Carson Beck, you want him to have another clean performance because we're very excited about what we saw against Notre Dame, but I think we both agree there's more there, right? There's more that he can show and more that he can do. He was very efficient last week. You wouldn't have expected much different from that. But is this the game they maybe hit a Keelan Marion on a deep ball? You saw them try to do it against Notre Dame. Week 1, he drew the penalty there. Doesn't necessarily have to be him, but want to see them continue to have that vertical passing game evolve.
Keelan Marion, I think you nailed it right there, Pete. That's a name to watch for me. And not just the deep ball, which, like you said, that would be nice to get that going because that's something we've been asking questions about, trying to push. Notre Dame got tackled, maybe could have gotten that one. But What about also just some of these short passes that become long plays? Just looking at USF secondary, this is not Notre Dame secondary. This is not what we've seen from Miami secondary in practice. I think there's a secondary that will miss tackles, will make mistakes if you make the easy play. So to me with Beck, spread it out, make a lot of easy plays. And I think from that, which is again, Florida last week, when they did make those easy plays, they were going for a lot of yards, but they missed some throws that were just off time. So if Miami can make those easy throws, I think those could potentially be those really huge plays by guys like Keelan Marion. So Carson Beck, a lot of people expect him to have a big day. It's laid out for him to potentially have a big day with the way that you look at USF's defensive line did against Florida last year. Not a lot of pressure on DJ Lagway.
And Lagway missed some throws last week too. He missed opportunities, right? I think that's what, when it comes to looking at Lagway, that's a whole nother discussion. But just in that game in particular, if Beck makes some of these throws that are there available to him, because they are going to have to send extra guys, if he can identify who's going to be the free runner essentially, then I think that there's going to be a lot of easy throws that, you know, maybe lead to long run after catch in this game.
No doubt about it. Uncut Cocaine says, I got 2 free tickets to today's game. Need to fill those seats. Yeah, listen, if you're interested in those seats, let me know. Let Uncut know in the comments, and we'll try to get those to you, because we do want to fill the Rock, get that electric juice flowing, Pete. I feel like it's caught on pretty decent.
Yeah, I think it has. Now, you set yourself up, unfortunately, for a laughing stock if things don't go our way today. But I think that would probably have been the case with or without that slogan. I just think it's something fun for fans to say and to talk about. We've had worse over the years.
Way worse. This was, I mean, you kind of make fun of it, but you have fun with it. You know, it's like, It's not taking itself seriously like we fence or some of these stupid things that we've said in the past.
Watch the finish. That was a good one.
That was you.
I don't know if it was me though. See, like there's people always say it was me, but I think that was one of those things that the staff wanted to conjure up.
It was,
and they had me pushing it.
That is exactly what it was.
So I was maybe a weapon of propaganda in that instance, but I don't think I created it. Maybe I don't know. I don't think it was me though. I think that I was definitely part of pushing it though.
No idea what that is to be an instrument of propaganda here. Arab saying, come on, DVD's done a good job with the corners over there at USF. I'm not saying he hasn't at all. I mean, USF's their coaching is great right now. I mean, they're number 18 in the country, and they were winless when Golesh got there, or pretty close to it. I mean, what was the record? Like 1 and something. They were horrible.
Yeah, they were bad.
So yeah, they've done a great job over there coaching wise. I'm just saying, look, we played Notre Dame. You know, Notre Dame's not going to miss a lot of tackles in the secondary. Notre Dame's not going to make a lot of major mental mistakes in the secondary, and they're very talented in the secondary. They can cover, and they can all tackle too. So with USF, I don't know. I know that the talent is not equivalent. So if you put it on them, eventually they miss a tackle. Eventually they just get out athlete or make a mental mistake because they're not used to dealing with all this time. I mean, Beck, if he can get the time, really to me, it's 2 things. Number one, is the offensive line going to perform at its standard? If it does, then you're going to be able to block USF. I'm pretty sure after seeing what UF did last week from a pass blocking standpoint. I think there were only 3 pressures in that game. And if Carson Beck does what he has typically done as far as reading the field, protecting the ball while having a clean pocket, one of the highest rated quarterback for the clean pocket we've seen in the last 5 years, according to Pro Football Focus, which again, take it with a grain of salt, but it passes the eye test, that's for sure. Give him that time and let him execute, and you should be able to tear up this defense over the course of the game. That's not even getting into the running game and leaning on, which we saw last week, really did a number on USF late in the game. But if they're able to confuse our offensive line, get us out of sync, get some pressures, maybe find a matchup they like and win it, and then if Carson Beck throws some picks or fumbles or whatever, or Fletcher fumbles or whoever doesn't protect the ball, they can hang around. So I don't want to make it that simple, but to me, it is that simple. You play clean, this will be a blowout. You play sloppy, USF can beat you.
I'm back. I was doing the social media promo. We're a 2-man show here on these live shows, man. So I was making sure we had everyone up to date that we are live now. Again, we're here at the Licking Miami Gardens, and we're doing the pregame show in the recording room here in the back. But as we've done every week, as you guys have seen, a lot of you guys in the comments have been over here. But we'll stream for about an hour, hang out with you guys who come check out the licking here. Guys, the food is fantastic. We got TVs everywhere. The games are about to start here in just a bit at noon. So come hang out with us here at the Licking Miami Gardens. You see the address on the bottom. If you're listening to us, it is on 17647 Northwest 27th Ave, about 1.5 miles from the stadium. So come grab a bite, come grab a drink before you head over to the stadium, before you head over to your tailgate. Come hang out with us here. Really, this is a good test, not only for the team, but I don't want to call it a test for the fans, but I think like the atmosphere for a 4:30 game today against a top 20 team, an in-state team, should be a really good one. I think the buzz surrounding this game right now locally has been awesome.
And let me know, you guys were at home. We're in a room here, so we can't really see. We're like in a back room, so we don't got windows. The weather was great when I pulled in, and it looked great. Yeah, period. So should be a good weather game if you're still thinking about getting out here. Weather looks great. And like I said, the licking will take care of you right up to game day. So
hey, look what Johnny Lagoon, who was here week 1, says lamb chops and arroz con pollo egg rolls only at the licking. Like I don't know where else you can get that array of cuisine.
No, and the service, unbelievable. Like I got to say, it's funny. We got here because the store opens the licking opens at 12. And we got here before everybody started getting in, man. It was like a jarring experience because usually when we sit down, we got water coming, we got food coming. I mean, the service here is unreal. So open at 12. Right when that starts, you're going to have the best staff in the business out here serving you guys and taking care of you as you watch all these games. This is going to be an interesting Saturday.
What do we got at noon here? Let me pull up the schedule. I love how they stagger these games now these days. I just remember that noon slate 10 years ago used to be abysmal.
Yeah, and it look, sometimes it is, sometimes it's a lot better. Today we got what do we got
Clemson,
here?
Georgia Tech. That's an interesting one. I want to keep my eye on
Clemson missing
that
some receivers, right? So
yeah.
I like Clemson in that game, but because Clemson is just such a wily program. They just have a culture of winning. They find ways to win. The ACC last year, so that kind of concerns me betting against Clemson. But with the way Georgia Tech's been coaching up on the offensive line, which I think is probably the second best in the country from a just overall standpoint, or not the country, I'm sorry, in the conference, from an overall standpoint. And then Haynes King being an experienced dual threat quarterback who can make plays to win. They can run it with Hayes. They got good receivers, even with Singleton gone to Auburn. So Georgia Tech, we know how tricky they are. That's going to be an interesting game to watch against Clemson.
You got Oregon and Northwestern at noon. It's kind of a sleepy noon slate, I got to say.
Green Tree saying, let's cook up a CIS parlay. So, all right. So I made picks. Pete, I don't know if you have picks that you want to kind of debut here on the pregame show, but I made picks on the Wednesday show. I'm pulling them up right now.
Are you just based off of the spreads, the ESPN spreads? So I don't know which spreads you were looking at.
Yeah, these were as of Wednesday. So maybe you can update the spreads. This was on the Wednesday show with Mike Ryan. I had Duke -1.5 over Tulane. I just think that Mensa going against his old team is going to be playing well. I think Duke has more talent. Duke really kicked themselves in the butt last game, shot themselves in the foot, whatever expression you want to use. They turned it over a ton against Illinois. That was a game that Illinois was a better team, but it should have been closer in my view, watching that game, and Mensa played well enough at times. I think Mensa is going to be probably pretty good in this matchup. So I like Duke to win that game over Tulane. Florida +7.5. I'm cheering against it. I'm even though there's some ways it's better for Florida to win that game.
That line's moved. I mean, at least from here, now it's 6.5 LSU. So
listen. That
makes a big difference. So 7.5, 6.5. Yeah.
But there's a reason why. I think if you look at Florida, they have a talented team. They beat LSU last year. They're going to have confidence. Lagways, you expect a bounce back performance. LSU is riding high. They look great against Clemson, but did not look as good the following week against Louisiana Tech. Mm-hmm. They didn't put up huge numbers in that game. So seeing them now against Florida, I don't think there's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game. Part of me, like, on one hand, you want Florida to win because it's going to help your game next week. You're going to be more sharp. They're going to be higher ranked. At the same time, if LSU won 55-0, I'd be here cheering for every single touchdown. Plus, they might quit. Probably a little early for them to quit before they play Miami, but that's always a possibility when you have a team teetering on the edge, as we saw in Miami with many, many teams that quit in their coaches last year. Florida, I think, is going to probably delay that a little bit, though, because last year everybody thought it was going to happen, and it didn't. we'll see the timing of that quitting. They got a tough schedule, as everybody knows, coming up, starting with LSU. But I like Florida in that game with the points. And then I had Georgia minus 3.5. Georgia-Tennessee was one. I'm curious to get your thoughts, because me and Mike went different ways on it. I'm not a huge Georgia believer this year. I think they've taken a step back talent-wise, but they're still Georgia, still have very good coaching, still have some very good players. I'm not an Aguilar believer, at least I'm not yet. If he plays well in this game, I might change my tune. But I just think Tennessee, they lost a lot themselves. Going against Georgia could be a reality check.
I like looking at that game, just looking at the number there. It's 50.5. I like the over there, because I think that Tennessee being at home is going to play with a little more confidence offensively. Aguilar's look solid. I know that you're not necessarily huge on him, but I think being at home there, they'll get some good looks early. I think they'll force Georgia to have to throw the ball a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive offensively. So I think over 50 points there is a nice move.
Kyle saying, don't think you guys are making a big deal as you should on Clemson, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech ACC slate is weak, and we really need Clemson to win. Can't give up one ACC title game slot this early in the season. Look, it's hard to predict the ACC, right? We've kind of seen that over the years. Like, teams lose games we don't expect them to lose. Aside from like the 1 year where FSU was a really great team, and then the Clemson kind of championship teams, everybody else is kind of week to week, and it's hard to really project that way like you might back in the day. So I hear you what you're saying, Kyle. I don't really have a pick as far as who I'd rather win in that game, because Clemson also going to get knocked out of the playoff berth if they lose an ACC game. They're not a guarantee to run the table in the ACC themselves. So we'll see. I'm just curious to see how it looks, because you got a quarterback in K. Klubnik that's got he had a lot of love going into the year, had a lot of question marks now. I'm sure he's got something to prove. Haynes King, we know what kind of competitor he is and how experienced he is. I think it's going to come down to, can Clemson's lines, offensive and defensive, play better than they have to this point? Because I think Georgia Tech's offensive line is going to be ready to rock. Not the most talented group in the country, but they got good players. And their defensive line, we'll see if they can play above their head against Clemson's offensive line. That, to me, is that's going to be the tell. Oh, Sergio saying, I don't think Haynes is playing this today. Is that true?
I don't know if that's I think it might be a bit, because he's warming up on the field.
Yeah,
I think
it's just saying because like he's always questionable.
Yeah,
I
got
you.
That's what it is.
I got you. Yeah, let me see.
Hey guys,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, remember to when these games start, we're obviously gonna be here talking about CansUSF, but we're here in this recording room. We got the TVs going, so we'll be watching the games kind of live with you guys. Been having a good time doing that. Last week we really did that for the first time, because the previous week we only had Virginia Tech, South Carolina going on. But yeah, I think that Georgia. I was talking to a Georgia Tech buddy of mine today, and they think that they can win that one. So it's a home game for them. I know it'll be pretty good atmosphere, but I think Clemson still wins that one.
Yes, we watch on College Game Day. Now they got the USF kind of hype part, which is cool. It's good to have this be a pretty popular game, given that I think it's a good matchup for the Canes, good showcase game. You want a quality win in this game. It's not like a game that they're 0-2 and you expect Miami to win, and if they play sloppy, you feel bad about it. And we expect Miami to win now, but you know what I'm saying. It's not like, hey, this is just a speed bump before you get to Florida. This looks like a much more hyped game that the team, according to Desmond Howard, who was at practice this week, said we look sharp and ready for. So Kyle mentioned Georgia Tech's schedule. ACC-wise, at Wake Forest, they'll probably win that. B-Tech is going down. They play them at home. At Duke, they could lose that one. Syracuse, that could be a high-scoring affair. At NC State, they could lose that one. At Boston College, who's down. At home, Pittsburgh, and then Georgia to end the season.
Kyle, you're always hyping Pitt up. I'm surprised you're not concerned about a late game against Pitt there for Georgia Tech.
Kevin Dennis says, you guys drop episodes like mixtapes from Wayne in 08. I'm going to watch the LaMelo episode on TV and this one on the phone. LOL. Yeah, man.
I did an episode from LaMelo's meat market yesterday, and I don't know if you had a chance to catch it, D, but I kind of went through the class, like position by position. I did where they stand there, potential flip targets there. So if you haven't caught that one, it's a good kind of refresher, kind of summary of where we stand right now, about a month into the high school season. I have not had a chance to catch up with last night's action, which I have been very on top of normally on Saturday mornings, but just had a crazy morning today. So I'm excited to check that out. I know Darion Coleman, their team played against Venice last night, right?
No, they played against the Water.
Oh, yes, Edgewater. Excuse me. So Justin Edwards, man, they're excited about Justin Edwards, the linebacker. They really, really are. So, yeah, excited to get to the high school tape from this week.
Canes Cat says the USF coach was on Big Noon Kickoff 20 minutes ago talking smack about the Canes. That does not seem right.
Well, I was going to bring this up to you. I'm a fan of is it Golesh or Golish?
I think Golesh, maybe.
Golesh. So I'm a fan of his, just what he's built there. Even going back to his time at Tennessee, I kind of was hearing through the grapevine, like, hey, this guy's going to be a heck of a head coach wherever he ends up. But you tweeted something out last night.
We tweeted
something out from the CansInSight
Let's talk
account
about this.
that our boy Noah Perez, who does an awesome job for us on the video production side there. You want me to bring that video up real quick?
We'll get a copyright ding on it here. We'll just talk about it. It's on
sure.
social media. It's on Twitter. It's on Instagram. It's all over. Anywhere you follow the CansInSight. Basically, he's got a play called Submarine, which on an extra point after a quick score, get more rest for their defense, a player will fake an injury. And they've done it so obviously and so frequently that we're able to compile a very long video of the fakes. And sometimes a guy would get rolled up on his right leg and grab his left leg, and no one would call it. So want to bring attention to this issue before the game so people can see this is how they get down. If you see an extra point and you see a USF player grabbing his knee, boo, make sure the ref knows it's fake, and just kind of poison the refs against this kind of cheating, because we know they're going to do it. We got them on film. Let's call them out.
And just kind of us doing a little bit of research into it as well, D, because like Canes Cats Heat is asking, what is gained by USF doing this, right? And rest. I think from what we understand, right, it's after like a quick scoring drive, like a 1 or 2 play drive, a defensive touchdown, because a lot of those guys are going to be on special teams units there. Mm-hmm. So if you score a quick touchdown, you want to rest them a little bit. That's kind of what we deducted from talking to people about it, right? So that would be, I don't understand if it's how big of a difference it could really make, but obviously they think it could, because there's an extensive history of them doing it.
So. Yeah, exactly. They're doing it for a reason. So we just want to expose that. So if you see that, share it, let everybody know, just because I don't want them to pull it on us. And if they pull it on us, I want everybody to call them out on it.
We can't hear the audio right now, but apparently they're saying that Nick Saban is hyping Miami up on the show. I mean, from what I understand, he has tremendous respect for Mario.
It's his practices. So it's kind of, he has some, I'm sure he has pride in guys from his coaching tree, which he would consider Mario part of his coaching tree. I'm sure he has a lot of pride in those guys doing well. Mario says he basically says, I stole a lot from Saban did. I mean, it makes sense. It's like
and you got to think that he just respects Mario's a worker, right? I'm sure there's stuff that he looks at and probably thinks, oh, Miami's the big bad wolf when it comes to NIL. But in terms of how Mario works, which Saban had a firsthand look at that, I think there's a respect level there.
No doubt. And the way the team's built, which is very much like his teams. Again, he learned how to evaluate from a lot of different people, but I'm sure a huge influence on the way he runs his recruiting operation is Alabama, when they're putting out first rounders at a huge clip every single year, and he was there. So you look at the way Miami's built, not that much different than the Alabama team. You've got a smart quarterback right now in Carson Beck, who makes decisions, spreads the ball, probably more talented than a lot of the Alabama quarterbacks that they've had. You have a very big, physical, athletic, high-value offensive line that can run when the other team doesn't want you to run. You have big running backs as well. And Mark Fletcher. I mean, Mark Fletcher, you could easily imagine in an Alabama backfield. He's that kind of running back. I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry, but they've had a lot of big backs that they cycle through. He's very much in that mold. The whole team's very tough and physical. And you listen to Saban talk about the Miami team and why he likes him is because he picked Notre Dame because of Notre Dame's consistency, physicality, the quality of their program, and the way they get down. And Miami beat them at their own game. So him seeing that, and he said pretty much this when he talked about this yesterday. I don't know what he's saying right now on game day. But he was like, look, when you out-physical Notre Dame, which is a physical team, you've shown what you are from your identity, and they have size, right? The quarterback makes good decisions. He's a 23-year-old player. All those things, you can stop the run. You stop Notre Dame's run. which is going to be as good a running game as we'll face all year. So the characteristics of teams like that Saban had, maybe not as deep because that was a different era of college football where you could basically have 4 rosters, stacked on top of each other. It's not like that. But in terms of the model of the type of team it is, it fits.
I will say that those teams always had a special wide receiver too. I mean, we know what they ended up having at the end there with Devontae Smith, Ruggs, and those guys, but you had the Julio Jones, you had the Amari Cooper, you had the Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley. So there was always one of those guys, and I think that's still probably what's missing right now.
Yes, from a size standpoint, but Malachi Toney in a different body type. I understand he's not as long and talented as those guys from a size standpoint.
But he gives you that alpha in the room.
He gives you that alpha. And look, if Malachi Toney was at Alabama and he was doing this as a true freshman, we'd be saying, there's another one. There's another one. So now different body, but doing the similar things here. But again, big game for him today, right? If he disappears today, that'll be a question mark. I don't think he will. I think he's been so consistent in what he's done in practice, what he's done off the field, what he's done through 2 games here. I'd be shocked if Malachi Toney doesn't have a lot to say about this particular ball game. But we'll see. I think Restrepo had a pretty big game this game last year. I know he had a touchdown where he did the little "you're too small."
Yeah, that was a good one.
In general, I mean, just pulling up the box score from last year, which I understand. Look, there's a different team. One thing about that game, though, I'll say, I went back and watched the opener USF had against Boise State where they won. Mm-hmm. That was at USF. The environment at the USF game last year was way more electric than that opening game against Boise.
It was a Thursday night. It was an early start. It was a 6:00 start or 5:30 start. So that was a little strange.
It was a weird, but the point I'm saying is like we had a real home field disadvantage last year. We had a lot of Canes fans there too, but that was a road game. Remember you were there. That was like they were in the crowd. They were loud. They had a whole thing set up. Like it wasn't like we caught them slipping. You know what I mean? They were ready to play in that game. It
was homecoming, as Green Tree K9 points out.
They hadn't beaten Florida like this team, but they had just gotten close with Alabama. Like they were beating Alabama or close to Alabama in the 4th, and then Jalen Milroe ripped off a couple runs. So and then looking at the score here, so this is 50-15. Obviously, didn't feel like that kind of blowout in the first half. First half it was a dogfight. Second half was domination. Look at the total stats that I think could be telling. 404 yards passing for Cam Ward in that game. I'm not saying Beck's going to throw for 400, but I could see a situation where he's very effective passing for the reasons we laid out.
I didn't realize Brown threw for 254.
Yeah, and the backup. Remember, he got hurt in this game too, and they had another backup. A lot of that was the Atkins, the slot receiver. Remember that guy was just killing the pick plays. He was killing us with those. I don't know if that's going to be a different type of attack. They got Singleton, who's a big play type of receiver. So we'll see.
Lexi says Grammatica looked like the world's best kicker last year with their onside kick long field goals. He's good. I mean, I don't know what his numbers are, but obviously saw him last week too. He missed a long one against Florida, but it was right on line. It was just a bit short. So he's good.
Yeah, and the key to me in this game last year, 188 yards rushing for Miami, 62 yards rushing for USF. So if we can have that kind of one-sided rushing game, we'll have a good chance here. UF did not stop USF's run as well as Miami did, but really, if I recall, let me pull up the stats here. UF really could have ran for more, I thought. They should have dominated the run game more than they did. As I pull up the stats here, unless I'm misremembering, let's see. Yeah, so USF ran for 128 yards, UF ran for 133. So pretty much the same, whereas Miami last year tripled the rushing output of USF. So I think that's a trend you want to continue. Penalties is interesting. So I'm just looking at penalty yards per game. South Florida right now is 105th through 2 games in penalty yards per game. We're at 72. Not exactly covering ourselves in glory there. But last year, you look at the same stat, South Florida 122nd in penalties. Miami was pretty low too. Miami was 118th. So we are not the best with penalties, but I don't think USF is either. So you definitely don't want that to be one-sided in Miami's direction.
R. Graves Canes, appreciate your support. He says, I think Dawson this year is going to slow the game down a bit and grind the defense into a pulp. They have the pieces on both sides to do it effectively. Think 23 Michigan.
You were at the game last year. I always use this example because I think it's telling. The game where Cam Ward was pointing to the gaps and saying, we're going to run here, and then you had Elijah Lofton at fullback and you had Damian Martinez at tailback and just ran to the gap that he was pointing to. That was this game, USF. So I think that shows you the mentality that Miami has as far as their physical dominance or ability to physically dominate this personnel. Will they do it today? That remains to be seen. But I don't know if they'll slow it to a halt. Remember, we scored 50 points last time, right? So I just think it's more about making the smart, efficient play every time. And out of that, you're going to get the big plays and you'll wear them down also. And when you wear them down, you also get big plays, big fourth quarters that way. So I think be smart, be patient, and the big plays will come in this particular ball game. Speaking of being smart, patient, all those things, Anajar and Levine, accident attorneys. If you or someone you care about is injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. One more friend that I want to talk about here as I pulled this up. And luckily, our injury report is pretty light right now. A healthy team. Shout out to the boys and girls, men and women, I should say, at U Health Sports Medicine Institute. If you consider you're an athlete, yourself an athlete, you consider yourself an active person. I know Pete's out there playing soccer all the time. I try to stay out there working out and doing my thing. You probably know how hard it is to sit out on the injured list with pain or an injury. Sometimes you can try to hack your own rehab, fix it yourself, walk it off. But if you don't want to compromise your movement, you don't want to compromise your performance, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute, whether it's the guys on the sideline that trust U Health Sports and University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. This is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. All right, what we got going on here?
Let me pull this back up here. So, D, you know, talking about the offense, just going back to that comment real quick too, I think a lot of this is going to be within the flow of the game, right? Like, there's going to be games that they can throw it around at will, and then you can slow it down. Or there's going to be games like we saw against Notre Dame where they really just took what was given to them by the defense, and that's going to be one of the better defenses in the country, we would imagine, based on the year before, and one of the best defenses Miami is going to face this year. And physically, I think about as good as anyone's going to be there. So I think it's going to be a game-by-game situation. I think when you talk about balance, and you said this a lot last year, it's being able to pretty much take what the defense is giving you. Yep. That's what balance is. It's not, hey, we're gonna run the ball 25 times and pass the ball 25 times. It's, you got to be able to do both when the defense is going to leverage one or the other.
No doubt about it. And I think Miami has the ability to do that. And then Miami, I think, has the extra part that separates champions from non-champions. Not saying they're going to be champions. I'm saying that they can consistently keep doing this, which they showed they could do against Notre Dame. I think they're going to have a chance to win big, which is they can run when the other team doesn't want you to run. So in other words, the other team knows you're going to run, putting resources to stop the run, and you run anyways. That's what Alabama did for many years, what Georgia did for many years, what Michigan did. You have to have the ability to do that. Miami, I think, does have that ability they showed against Notre Dame. And then the flip side, you know they're going to run. Can you stop their run and take that away from them with, again, physical dominance on both sides? I think Miami's shown they can do that against Notre Dame, best rushing game that they're going to face. So can that be consistent against an opponent like this that is physically overmatched but is playing at an extremely high level? We'll find out. But that, to me, is the key. The balance, which you talked about, the ability to kind of take what you get, and then also the ability to impose your will on both sides of the ball when necessary.
Comment here from George Cherry, which someone asked this question in the chat the other day. I don't think we got to it, but he says, if Bain has a good game, will he be up for the Heisman? And someone asked today, what does Bain have to, like, what kind of season does Bain have to have and for him to be in New York as a finalist? And I would say there's a few things. Number one, you almost have to be undefeated. You have to be, I think you have to be undefeated for that. So it's like a perfect scenario. One there. He's got to be pretty darn close to 20 sacks.
20 sacks, yeah.
He's going to be 20 sacks. So it's got to be that two, like you just said. And he's got to have a game here where he has like 5 sacks. He has to have like a signature performance.
Yeah.
Maybe it's this week. Maybe it's next week against Florida. But like where he had a great finish, obviously, the Notre Dame game. But it just needs to be such an overwhelming performance like Ndamukong Suh had a couple times for Nebraska.
Yep.
And he kept them in that game against Texas in the Big 12 championship when that was a huge deal at the time, like the conference championship.
That was an incredible game.
I remember that game vividly because I wanted him to win the Heisman that year. And it needs to be something like that. And then there needs to be a media push behind it, quite frankly. Like there needs to be something that he has such a spectacular. Maybe it's these 2 games. Maybe he has like 6.5 sacks in the next 2 games. Like that's something like that sparks the run where people are saying this is the best player in the country. The Heisman should be the best player in the country. We gave it to Travis Hunter last year because what he was doing, his impact on both sides of the ball. And then I'll say this is my last thing as a long answer here, but there can't be an overwhelming. It has to be like an underwhelming year as a whole in terms of the favorites that are out there. The bet maybe like Dante Moore. His numbers aren't crazy. Yeah, something like that. But I think he's going to put up some good numbers.
Yeah, as we watch him right here on the pregame, I think that's why it's still early. I'll give you another one, which is Carson Beck, Pete. Philip Robinson talking about this game in particular, he says USF has athletes but not size. If we throw the ball all over the place, that'll keep them in the game. I'm not saying throw the ball all over the place in a risky fashion. What I'm saying is they're struggling on the pass rush. At least that's what we saw when we watched that UF tape. It may not be the case today, but that appears to be an advantage for the Miami Hurricanes on paper, Miami's ability to protect Carson Beck against USF. So what I'm saying is if they're giving us easy passes and then they're high efficiency passes, it's not risky, it's not long developing, quick hitters, things that you can allow the Malachi Toney or Keelan Marion or whoever to turn and run. Those little passes can eventually create big plays. And a guy like Carson Beck, if he has time, I trust him to protect the ball. And I trust him to make the right decision because he's done that to this point. You could point to his turnovers last year, and I think that's fair. But when he had an advantage of personnel, like against Clemson or Georgia Tech, which is a much bigger gap, much smaller gap than Miami and USF. I think Miami and USF are here. Georgia last year and Clemson and Georgia Tech are probably closer to here. But even with those talent advantages, he was pretty lights out. I mean, he was throwing the ball. He ran into problems when he went against teams with better talent or equal talent. The Ole Misses of the world, had a bad game against Florida. But I think this kind of matchup with this protection advantage feeds into his strengths mentally and processing and making easy throws, but he's got to make them. And you have to have that protection advantage. So if those 2 things happen, I think it's going to be a pretty good day for the Canes, and then they're going to be able to run the ball. There's no world where the Canes do not run the ball with a lot of purpose and intention. That's just part of our DNA. And I think also an advantage that Miami has is the running game. I'm just saying I could see a scenario where they're almost asking us to take these easy passes, and Beck is able to do it effectively.
I'm just looking at USF's transfer class. They brought in 23 guys. They brought in a lot of bodies. That's something Tito Bonacci, who was on with us earlier this week, told us. They pretty much just brought in a lot of vets. And there's an interesting name here that I'm seeing that I didn't realize was on the roster. Bugsy Silvera, the younger brother of Nesta.
He's playing too. I saw him get some tackles last game. Yeah, he's playing. So what number is he? I saw him. He's a single-digit number. I saw him in the UF game last week making some tackles. McNeese State transfer. He is number 12. 5'11" grad student from Heritage. And good tackler, man. He's someone you got to watch out for.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in his stuff in high school, and he had some good-looking clips. It was a pesky like smaller linebacker / in the box safety at the time.
Yeah, I'm just looking through some of these huddles to see if anyone's posted any new ones. I know, Darren Coleman, that Edgewater game, that's an interesting game because he was going against J.J. Edwards, who's a Miami commit. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, he played pretty good. Ultimately, it was a situation where the better team was Edgewater, and they won a close game. 20-17, I believe, was the final score. They're pretty darn good. So,
New King God says, I want to see how Simpson and Russell look against USF. We need those body types for the playoffs. And with as many plays as you expect these guys to run, I would probably think there's going to be a bit more rotation in the middle there. Dalen Russell was someone who was pointed out to me last night by someone I was talking to that they've been pleasantly surprised with. You can't knock production. You can look at him and say he's not the tallest, he's not the biggest, but they say this guy is a juiced up Marley Cook. And when they brought in Marley Cook, they thought he could be a really nice rotational player for them. And they think he's better than that.
And he's bigger than that.
Yeah. That's why I said juiced up.
Right? Seeing him in person, I saw him in person. I did storm sessions with Torre the other day, with by the way, check out that episode. He was awesome. One of the best Storm Sessions we've ever done. Check out Storm Sessions on the official University of Miami Hurricanes YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Storm Sessions interviewed Notre. Awesome interview. He was a great kid. People really call him a kid. He's old. He's a grown man. Watch that interview. He was awesome. But anyways, as I'm leaving the Heck that day, I saw Russell, and he's a big guy. He's not huge. He's not a giant defensive tackle. But he's not like 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1". He's probably like 6'2", I would say, 6'1.5", but strong. Looks good. When you see him, you don't say like, oh, that looks like an undersized guy. So I think the combination of the fact that in high school he was a really, really good football player, played a lot of stand-up rusher in Columbus to show you just how versatile he is. He can get off blocks. He's quick. He's coordinated. He's a good player. He makes plays and knocks guys back when he's on the field. The question with him was always, well, he's not a super athlete. He's not big. So are we compromising talent at a position where talent is a premium, and that's why you need those 5-star Justin Scotts? But I think watching him develop and seeing he's gotten to a point now where his size is good. And Kevin Dennis makes a great point. Russell will be all conference to play for USF. We get these guys in the portal for depth all the time, and they're expensive because they're already an all-conference player. So you have to get them out of the portal. You have to fight other teams. It's expensive. You look at the Boise State guy. They wouldn't have going back to Boise State, and he wasn't even that good. Those guys are hard to get, and if you get them, it's cost a lot. So you can develop those in-house. You can really have some success, especially from a feeder program, a program that's close to Mario Mirabal's heart, of course, and a guy that's a good player, has a good mental aspect to him, I think is a win-win. So his development's been good. Dante Simpson's been good. I'm not worried about them being physically overwhelmed against USF's offensive line, but you also don't want to make big mistakes because these guys can gash you if they catch you out of your gap or just trying to do too much. So you've expressed, I don't say concern, but you've noted, listen, the back of defensive line has got to be able to hold it together when you sit a Blay, when you sit a Moten, when you sit a Justin Scott. Orlando Blunt injured last week. I think he's fine this week, but he's still dealing with stuff. Hayden Lowe out for the year. Cole McConaughey injured right now. So you got to do your part and contribute with all the plays that USF's going to be running. It's a big game for those two.
The other name that was told to me last night is someone who they're putting a lot more faith in the last few weeks here, and I think moving forward is going to see time is Herbert Scroggins.
Yeah,
third out of necessity, that number one, but he's played well and he's done well in practice. Size-wise, he's gotten over 250, which was a big milestone for him to reach as he came in here maybe at like 230 or so. So he's someone that they are bullish on, and I was looking at him as, we talk about red shirt guys, like, hey, if they're good, they're not going to get red shirted. But with him, it was more like, is he going to play for 4 full games, or is he going to get in the mix there? I think he's going to play more than that this year. I think he's going to be, once you get to the ACC play, a guy who is in that rotation.
I think so. Then you can go to the mental part. We always say the mental gets guys on the field early. Scroggins, high academic, high performer. I think he's one of the all-time leading sack artists in Georgia history just by the stats. Didn't get those. He did have SEC interest, but he didn't have like the 5-star SEC interest because he wasn't the biggest, like most obvious guy, but he has enough size and he can get to the quarterback and he can play the run. He's just smart and tough and does what he's supposed to do. Those guys get developed. He's got Jason Taylor coaching him up. He's put on the weight. So I think he's heading in the right direction for sure and is someone that you could see more of.
Kevin Dennis asking what's up with Booker Pickett. I expected more after that flash play versus Duke last season. There's a lot of guys in that spot, number one. And you're only going to have one of those guys on the field at a time, right? You're not going to have 2 of them on the field in most instances. I think, but you said it there. You see the flash with him, and I think you want to see more consistency from him.
Yeah, he's working. He's a lot of competition. You mentioned Scroggins. Marquise Lightfoot is going to be a major factor going the rest of this year. I think Marquise Lightfoot's been one of the eye poppers for me, just seeing his speed. And I saw it in person during practice, so we've been talking about Marquise Lightfoot quite a bit on these off-season shows. I don't think that's been a secret if you listen to the CansInSight Daily podcast. But now seeing it in games, I mean, he's a difference-making athlete. Big game for him today. He's going to have to be disciplined. He's going to have to tackle a guy that's the same size, if not a little bigger than him. So we'll see on that. But his speed is a major difference maker. And he's a physical guy. He likes contact. Now, sometimes maybe he's over aggressive and you get in trouble with a guy like this. He's big. He's bigger than you. So we'll see. Malik Bryant's also in that mix. So you can't forget him. He's a veteran player.
I think they need him today.
Yeah, it was a good game from Malik Bryant. I would agree. Let's get to this guy because we got to talk about it. You know, Brown, quarterback for USF. I watched the boy who's taking him again yesterday. He really is tough to tackle. He can get low. He's got great balance. He's physically strong. He's tough as nails. He has a great attitude. I would call him a winner. I don't know if he's the kind of guy like that's just completely in control of the game, like a Cam Ward was last year, where he's just kind of like, even though he's a veteran, I'm not sure he's just that kind of natural passer.
I will say, though, that he understands what I think his limitations are, which is a big part of being in control.
You nailed it. He's not in control of the passing game necessarily, but he's someone who can control the game with his running, with his decision-making, with his toughness, and do enough in the passing game to hurt you. Because like you said, he knows he's not going to be Carson Beck or Cam Ward and just sit there and carve you up. But he can make big plays down the field. He can get the ball to the outside on some of these horizontal plays or some of these screens going in. So he can do some damage to you horizontally and vertically. There's the old Baylor passing game. So horizontal and vertical is how they want to beat you. Big game for the secondary. I mean, we talk about the corners covering guys. Those corners are going to have, like Dagan Up says, eye discipline. Those corners are going to have because how many times do they fake a screen and then go right behind you?
That's how they got Florida last week.
That's their bread and butter. So you got to be smart with that. You got to get off blocks too, all those perimeter runs. We talk about our wide receivers blocking. Well, now our corners got to get off blocks and make tackles. They're a lot bigger than they've been in the past. Guys that are 6'1", 6'2", with length, with some size. So I think we're better in that respect, but we got to see it. So
well, and when it comes to they're showing these Notre Dame highlights, Jeremiah Love loves the hurdle, man. It's crazy. But when you're defending Byrum Brown, obviously you talk about the physicality, but mentally there's going to be there's going to be plays where you stop him at the line of scrimmage, you stop him for a 2-yard loss, and then they'll have a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13. You lose contain on him, he'll break a tackle, and he'll make something out of nothing where it's going to be a frustrating, you're going to have really good plays, but then he can bust it open. Kind of like how Kyron Drones did last year at times, right? Where you had them in these 3rd and long situations, these 2nd and deeps, and then they would get these chunk plays because Drones was running around back there. He was breaking tackles, launching the ball downfield, and not the same players as Brown, but I think similar in that aspect where it's going to be you got to stay mentally sound and you can't get down or get too frustrated when he breaks one that you thought you had contained.
100% agree with you, Pete. I think this is a long game. I remember last year at halftime, and tell me if you guys felt the same way. I know you did, Pete, because we've talked about this, is at halftime of the game last year, I'm sitting there in the stadium. I'm like, this game feels like it's done. Not because it was over on the field, just because of the amount of stuff that had happened.
Wow. Pat, I guess he chose Pat McAfee. I guess he's picking. Are they picking them against the spread or what is?
No, they're picking. So
I think they're picking them. Wow.
So Pat picked USF. Pat McAfee. Candace Parker picked USF. Kirk, I think, is going to probably pick Miami as he does there. Yeah. Desmond Howard and Nick Saban pick Miami. They're both pretty complimentary. I think those three think it's going to be a pretty big spread game. I want to talk real quick, Pete, and I agree with everything you said. You just got to look. My point is, it was like a whole game. So much stuff happens, and you still had a whole half, which we ended up dominating and really making this a blowout victory over USF. Point being, there's going to be more plays. These guys run a lot of plays. A bad play happens. If you have a coverage bust, God forbid, or a turnover, and they score fast, or the trick play, which they're going to bust out, gather yourself, get back into it, keep playing football. There's going to be a lot of plays, a lot of opportunities to make.
They picked the spread, apparently.
Oh, so there you go. All right, listen. I'm surprised everybody picked us. It's a big, heavy spread. It shows you how far we've come. Here is a game I want to talk about because people have asked us. Notre Dame against Texas A&M at Notre Dame. So it's an important game, I think, for a lot of reasons. Miami probably wants Notre Dame to keep winning for strength of schedule purposes. Part of me says, man, if Notre Dame loses this game, they're out of the playoffs. You don't have to deal with them because they're pretty good. But that's probably thinking too far along. This game is huge for Notre Dame. In fact, now that I'm looking at this spread, if it wasn't so big at 6.5, I would have picked Notre Dame in this game because they have to win. If they don't win this game, they're going to have very few opportunities to get quality wins and build their resume back up, being an independent team.
I'm looking at our boy Bear over here. Let's let's see if they're gonna get our
getting the over
there.
He's getting the over, but yeah, shout out to Bear. Kane great on big noon kickoff. So I think Notre Dame, and he picked Notre Dame -6.5. So we're on the same page. I think Notre Dame needs to win this game. If they don't win this game, they're in trouble for the rest of their schedule making the playoffs. They know that. They're at home. It's going to be a live crowd. Look at the Texas A&M Notre Dame game last year, a game which Notre Dame won. Riley Leonard made some really good plays in that game. It was a tough game. I think Connor Wegman was playing that game, who is now the starting quarterback at Houston. They hadn't switched to Marcel Reed yet. My view of this situation, Pete, if you look at Texas A&M last year, and I watched that game because if you recall, I said that with the Miami-Notre Dame matchup, I think Notre Dame is going to struggle with the size of Miami's defensive line, not the big, 330-pounders, the guys that are like Bain and Messidor that were 260, 270, 285, but powerful, because they showed a lack of power against Texas A&M the year before. Notre Dame didn't like that. The fans got after me. Of course, we saw what happened in the game. But those guys have graduated. Shamar Stewart, who was 6'5", 267, right? He's gone to the NFL, first-round pick. Nick Scorton, 6'3", 260, can get up to 270. He was second-round pick to the Panthers. Shamar Turner, a little bigger, but still kind of defensive end, defensive tackle, tweener, maybe an undersized D tackle, 6'4", 290. He's a second-round pick to the Bears. So they lost a lot. I don't know if they've necessarily replaced that. One of their starters is TJ Searcy, who was a transfer from Florida. Show you how much Florida lost in the portal. This guy's starting for Texas A&M, which is ranked ahead of Florida. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think Notre Dame's going to have enough of an advantage.
Him and Tyburn.
Right. I'm starting for LSU. But I think Notre Dame's going to have a better advantage in this game than they did against us in the offensive line, defensive line matchup. It's going to be more an advantage towards Notre Dame. They'll be able to run the ball. TJ Carr is going to be at home. I thought he played great against us. He's going to have his veteran receivers who he didn't even really use in the game against us. I think you'll see those guys get more involved as they have to respect what Carr can do athletically. Jeremiah Love's going to do his thing. He's ready to show what he can do. I like Notre Dame in this game big time.
Do you hear that behind us? You hear the DJ starting to get going?
It's getting going here. It's 12 o'clock. So, by the way, if you guys are anywhere near, or if you want to go to the game and you don't want to just sit in your car, you don't want to just go to the game not knowing what you're going to eat, right? Maybe you want to stop somewhere before. Stop here. We are right across the street from the stadium. You can park here. There's a ton of parking, all the TVs you want, eat, drink, have some fun here, and then you go to the game on a full stomach. What's better than that? Very cost-efficient way to do it. Plus, you get better food.
And then if you are, some of you guys may already have your plans. I get it before the game, but after the game, DoorDash, Uber Eats, pick up here right down the street before you get back on the highway. I'm telling you guys, like, the food is out of hand. I cannot wait until our I don't know. I've been doing the lamb chops and I like they don't miss, but I might want to hit something new today.
So hold on, I'm gonna look at something up here because we had a great question in the chat, which was from
Kane's Cat Seat, by the way, saying that he had the licking after the Bethune game. So
it makes total sense because it was delicious. You can get great food on the way by the stadium, and it's gonna hold you down after.
And it's not fast food. It's like
right.
Home cooked here, man.
Matt Reyes saying BUZZN, baby. I wasn't going to say the spot now, but you set me up with the alley-oop. So I got to talk about BUZZN. You're at the tailgate. You want to relax, or you're at home watching on TV. You want to relax. You don't want to always be pounding beers, waking up with a hangover, waking up with a beer belly. Drink BUZZN. That is drink BUZZN. I'll pull it up, Pete, right here. THC-infused seltzers. 7.5 milligrams of real THC-infused seltzers. Brighten the Vibe with BUZZN, BUZZN. First order, use code FIRST50 for 50% off your first drink of BUZZN.
Brandon makes a good point. He says, I'm superstitious. Keep your same order as the last 2 weeks. Maybe I keep the same order and order something else too, man. Maybe I'm hungry today. I don't know.
Lisa Snow, go Canes, Hurricane football. Football in the day, Canelo versus Crawford on Netflix tonight. Great Saturday.
Who do you think's winning that one?
I haven't really studied them. I haven't watched them fight in like a few years. So boxing, they fall off a cliff fast. So I don't know who's kind of washed first. We should ask Steve Kim when he was on. He's out there working.
He's out there. Yeah, I have a couple buddies out there too. Should be good. This is Dana White's involved in this promotion of this one, right?
Yeah, big Canes.
Our boy Dana White, Hurricane Dana White. So
he's been wearing the UN polo on all the pre-fight stuff. So
did you see the polo how it fits? That looked like a custom fit. I don't know.
Oh, like tailored?
Yeah.
I know people tailor their t-shirts, man.
I need that same tailor job there.
All right, guys. So a question I had that I wanted to get to that I thought was super interesting, or at least a comment here. Let me pull it up here from Kevin Dennis. He's saying, imagine Ruben Bain and Shamar Stewart on the same lines. We just talked about Shamar Stewart. The trend I'm seeing, Pete, defensive ends, edge rushers from South Florida. South Florida's fallen back, in my opinion, from its peak a few years ago. But the defensive end position, the edge rush position, is as good as it has ever been in South Florida and really anywhere in the country. This region's become the hub for defensive ends. Look no further this year. Ruben Bain, that's going to be a first-round pick, we all think. Kenyatta Jackson, defensive end for Ohio State. They can go anywhere in the country for DNs. They got one from, I believe he's from Chaminade, right? Mm-hmm. You have from Cardinal Gibbons, R. Mason Thomas, best pass rusher for Oklahoma. On the other side, they have Marvin Jones, who even with all his travels, still playing for Oklahoma. So they got South Florida defensive ends. There's a bunch of these guys all over the country. But then you look at the pro game last year, Shamar Stewart, first rounder from South Florida. The year before that, Dallas Turner, first rounder from South Florida. You go back a couple years, you got guys like Greg Rousseau.
Nick Bonito just got paid
big money to be an edge rusher for the Denver Broncos. Guy from South Florida here. Talk about the Bosa brothers, Brian Burns. It has been a pretty good tradition here of local defensive ends, and it's just continuing to bloom and blossom, man. So got to keep getting those guys. I know we've been doing pretty good with out-of-state ends. You talk about Marquise Lightfoot, guys like that, Hayden Lowe. But, yeah, there's a lot of local guys.
Scenes are high there in the Big Noon Kickoff, man. That's Northwestern, huh?
Yeah, good for them, man.
Look at that. It looks good.
It's like Cal. I went to Cal last year, and it was a good vibe.
It looks like Disney World back there.
It does. It does. Bagging up asking, what positions in South Florida have fallen the most? What positions are on the upswing? I'd say receiver, but Malachi Toney and Jeremiah Smith back-to-back years will help kind of up that. But I think receiver used to be more plentiful. I'd say defensive back. But again, as I say that, you now have Frederic coming up. You have Xavier Lucas coming up, at least from the Canes standpoint.
Earl Little balling.
You know, Bryce Fitzgerald at safety is looking pretty good as a guy that's going to be potentially an impact player. So I'd say that's been down lately, but it really, to me, started around 2020. Mm-hmm. So 2020, that was the Restrepo year, but there was a lot of guys that didn't make it that year. Just go back and look at the list. You go to 2021, you had Dallas Turner, who was phenomenal. Cam Kitchens was a really good player. James Williams and Leonard Taylor now in the pros doing their thing, but probably below the expectations you had for those guys. A lot of other guys didn't develop in that class. So I would say that's when it kind of started. But the edge rusher position has been pretty consistent.
Yeah, the athletes down here, the explosive athletes, and I think a lot of guys who maybe were not finished products either that ended up blossoming. Benito, Miami didn't want Benito, for example.
No, we did not. I mean, we should have. You think of Ashton Gelati, who went to Louisville, someone I posted about on the CansInSight message boards as someone I think we should have taken a look at because he was very talented in high school, multi-sport guy, high motor, but he ended up going to Louisville. Third-round pick, I believe, definitely an impactful college player. So we missed a few of those guys. I'll tell you two guys that we missed, Pete, and I'm not going to get into this because we talk about this every show, but CJ Bailey on Thursday, Fernando Mendoza on Friday. Those were two pretty impressive. Competition was bad, but skill set-wise, we see guys that height making some of the throws that they're making, moving around like they're moving. That was pretty impressive by both those guys. We'll monitor those players throughout the year. I think we're going to be just fine at quarterback this year with number 11 under center. I wouldn't trade him for anybody.
Canes Cat Seed 305 says, as the football talent's dropped off, the basketball talent has gone to a level we've never seen before. Yes, it just feels like a lot of these guys aren't from Miami. They're coming down here.
Yeah, it's true. But then you also have the kids of NBA players who moved down here. So you're seeing that kind of like you saw with defensive back with the Pat Surtains of the world, you know, the Wilsons, guys like that. Sworn to the Storm says, watching Isaac Brown's tape, I don't see how he wasn't a take. That's one, too. I forgot to mention him. Explosive tailback out of Louisville, originally from Homestead down there in the southern part of Miami-Dade County. Desmond Reed from Miramar, who's out of Pittsburgh, someone I liked out of high school. Didn't think it was a Miami-type guy, but I thought he should have gone FBS and then going to Western Carolina and then transferring to Pitt. Really talented, multi-purpose player, smaller guy, but really talented. So there's a few guys.
Brandon asking, any recruits joining the show this week? Listen, not that I know of. It was a surprise a couple of weeks ago when Tank Jones joined us. Maybe D has something up his sleeve that I'm unaware of, but no, I don't think so. I don't think so today. Yep. We talked yesterday, though, some interesting stuff in terms of the D-line, new offers going out. We talked about it yesterday at our show at Duffy's. J.D. Hill as a new offer. Frederick Saintis, who he was offered back in July, but he'll be here this weekend. Some good upside with that one. I know Miami is excited about that one. I think size-wise, he's probably a step ahead of J.D. Hill in terms of his offers.
But again, I think you're right. And I think with J.D. Hill, a lot of this, you just kind of see it, right? Some of these guys, and I always say this because it's something that I didn't really appreciate until the closer I got to it. Pete, I know you know this very well. You don't know how big these guys are until you see them in person. You don't know how they're built. You don't know just their dimensions. I've seen guys look at the moms and the uncles or the dads and say, hey, man, these guys got size. This guy's going to get even bigger, the brothers or sisters, whatever it is. So there's a lot that goes into it with those in-person evals. It's hard to measure tape measure size on tape. That's why I like verified measurables. It's just those things will tell you a lot more with him. Multi-sport guy, J.D. Hill, very productive. You got to see him in person.
Man, we're coming on to the start of these games now, these noon games. This is going to be a good one here. Georgia Tech, Clemson, a good one to follow, at least. I think, both of these quarterbacks, they have their own styles about them. And, Georgia Tech will make this try to make this an ugly game. Clemson bounced back last week. It was Troy, I believe, who they fell down 16-0, 17-0 to. Came back, and then we got Oregon on this other TV here. So, yeah, man, I think what do you got here? The Hurricane team store. There you go.
Yeah, let's not forget the running game is going to be a major factor in our game. And we'll be talking about these games here. We'll go live here probably another 30 minutes as we get some food. Say hi to the people coming in. We're at the Lickin'. It's noon. We're open. Food's being served. Drinks are being poured. Show up at the Lickin', Miami Gardens, right there, 5 minutes from the stadium. Get the top food. Get the address right down there, 17647 Northwest 27th Avenue, right across from the stadium, about 5 minutes. Easy parking here. All the TVs, all the food you want, all the drinks you want. Load up here before you go to the game. Beat the traffic. No brainer. Get out here before it's a rush to get down and get food in a couple hours. Do it right now while you got a nice, comfortable spot with a great game. We'll be here recording multiple shows with the Lickin'. But real quick, I want to talk about tomorrow, 12-1. Tomorrow, Sunday, 12-1. The running game is going to be big today. Hopefully these guys aren't tired from running people over. But Marty Brown, Mark Fletcher, Gerard Pringle will be at the Miami Hurricane team store right across the street from the University of Miami next to the Thesis Hotel. Stop by for the meet and greet, 12-1 p.m. Say it again. Tomorrow, Sunday, 12-1 p.m. Go meet these guys. It's a great experience for the family. Take pictures with you, with your kids. It's just an awesome, awesome experience. Plus, use promo code INSIGHT20, get 20% off your first item at the store. Jeremy, Harry, the whole team there is phenomenal. Miami Hurricane team store across the street from the University of Miami. That will be back on in a little bit. We'll watch along some of these games. Get some food right now. Go Canes.
Go Canes. Hit that like and subscribe and get out to the Lickin'.